Fíjate ahora que viene. No, no, me acaba de decir que apagara y que se hundiera.
Things into one narrative about the stakes in this election?
Well, look, I think the first and most important issue is, are we going to preserve and hopefully strengthen our democracy? And that's sort of a baseline question. And I believe that given how at least Republican officials have behaved, they increasingly are willing to subvert basic democratic procedures, right? Like, let's count votes. Let's make sure that people are allowed to vote. Let's make sure that whoever gets the most votes has the most seats, and that if they get the most votes in Congress, that you can pass laws, right? Basic stuff like that, they don't increasingly seem to believe in. And so that's the sense of urgency that I have. Now, I think for the average voter out there, we can talk about specific issues that are important to them, and this has been a long-term battle that we've been having between Democrats and Republicans, and that is, do we create the kind of economy that gives everybody a fair shot and that grows the economy in a way that is good for not just a few, but the many. And the great thing that I think we have going for us is that even with really slim majorities, what we've shown is that we can deliver. The Biden administration has accomplished a lot.
In April 1979, at the General Dynamics docks in Groton, Connecticut,
Spezial- und Polizeikräfte benutzen weltweit die robuste und einfach zu bedienende Waffe.
Die Hauptkampfentfernung des G36 liegt bei 200 bis 400 Metern. Sie verschießt das Kaliber 5,56 x 45 und weist damit auch nur einen sehr geringen Rückstoß auf. Ein großer Vorteil ist die Ergonomie dieser Waffe. Sie lässt sich sowohl durch Rechts- als auch durch Linksschützen gleichermaßen gut bedienen.
Ortswechsel. Im niedersächsischen Bergen trainieren Fallschirmjäger aus Seedorf. Neben ihrer Fähigkeit zur Durchführung von Luftlandeoperationen sind sie besonders zum Kampf im Wald und im bebauten Gelände befähigt. Hauptbewaffnung der Fallschirmjäger ist dabei ebenfalls das Sturmgewehr G36. Das Sturmgewehr G36 ist rund 1 Meter lang und wiegt 3,6 Kilogramm. Die maximale Kampfentfernung beträgt 500 Meter. Bis zu 750 Schuss pro Minute sind theoretisch im Dauerfeuer möglich. Das G36 besteht zum überwiegenden Teil aus schlagfestem Kunststoff. Am Gehäuse der neueren Versionen befinden sich Montageschienen. Darauf lassen sich schnell und einfach Visiere, Laserlichtmodule oder Nachtsichtaufsätze, wie zum Beispiel der NSA 80, befestigen.
Die Waffe ist nachtkampffähig ab der Version A2 mit einem Nachtsichtgerät zusammen. Und generell sind alle Versionen nachtkampffähig mit einem extra Aufsatz.
Das Magazin fasst 30 Schuss und ist durchsichtig. So kann der Schütze jederzeit sehen, wie viele Patronen sich aktuell darin befinden. Das G36 zeichnet sich durch seine einfache Bauweise aus. Mit wenigen Handgriffen kann der Soldat es zerlegen.
Genau, wir zerlegen das G36. Dazu entfernen wir zuerst den Trageriemen. Dann haben wir hier 2 Druckstifte. Die kann man einmal durchdrücken und auf der anderen Seite dann rausziehen. Können die dann in der Schulterstütze, da haben wir Löcher unterbringen. Das ermöglicht uns dann, das Griffstück zu entfernen. können wir die Schulterschüsse abklappen und das Bodenstück mit der Schließfeder sowie den Verschluss entnehmen. Und zu guter Letzt entfernen wir noch den Handschutz. Und können dann die Antriebsstange mit dem Gaskolben entnehmen. G36 ist nun zerlegt.
Die internationalen Einsatzerfahrungen der Bundeswehr haben gezeigt, dass das Standardsturmgewehr G36 in Bezug auf Reichweite und Durchschlagskraft an seine Grenzen kommt. Deshalb wurde von der Bundeswehr das schwere Sturmgewehr G27 beschafft. Es schließt die Lücke zwischen dem G36 und großkalibrigen Systemen. Das G27 ist ein halb- oder vollautomatisches Selbstladegewehr mit Zielfernrohr als Infanteriebewaffnung, eine sogenannte Unterstützungswaffe.
Die Waffe wird vor allem von den spezialisierten Kräften eingesetzt, sowohl des Heeres als auch der Marine- und Luftwaffe.
Und auch bei den Kräften der Streitkräftebasis. Mit dem knapp 5 Kilogramm schweren G27 lassen sich präzise Schüsse auf größere Entfernungen bis 600 Meter realisieren. 600 Schuss pro Minute sind theoretisch möglich. Das G27 ist eine robuste und modulare Militärwaffe. Die kalt gehämmerten und hart verchromten Rohre sind in unterschiedlichen Längen verfügbar. Auch ein Schalldämpfer kann angebracht werden. Die Waffe kann der Schütze selbst konfigurieren. Zielfernrohr, Reflexvisier, Laserlichtmodul, Laserpointer und Granatwerfer lassen sich an den zahlreichen Montageschienen anbringen. Das Magazin fasst wahlweise 10 oder 20 Patronen im Kaliber 7,62 x 51.
Die Waffe kann im Feuerstoß geschossen werden und hat dann eine Kadenz von 600 Schuss in der Minute. Zumeist aber als Einzelfeuer und dann so schnell, wie ich den Abzug ziehe.
Als weiteres Zubehör kann der Soldat Zweibein, Sturmgriff und den Nachtsichtvorsatz NSV 600 montieren. Gegenüber dem Standardgewehr G36 hat das G27 bedeutend mehr Mündungsenergie und Reichweite und erreicht somit erheblich größere Wirkung gegen Einzelziele.
Teil des Satzes sind 3 Magazine. Ich würde das aber im Regelfall erweitern auf 4 bis 5, so viele wie ich tragen kann.
In Hartheim muss das Jägerbataillon 292 gleich ein weiteres Haus erstürmen. Dabei bekommen
细节，你呢？先让他们说。
Dabei bekommen die Sturmgruppen Unterstützung von einer relativ neuen Waffe.
Wir haben eine Deckungsgruppe eingesetzt, untergezogen im bewaldeten Gelände, die dafür eben sorgt mit 3 Maschinengewehren, dass das Zielgebäude mit Feuer bedeckt wird und dementsprechend den Sturmgruppen die Möglichkeit zu handeln lässt. Ja. Heißt also, der Feind im Gebäude wird niedergehalten, er wird in seinem Handeln begrenzt und unsere 2 Sturmelemente können dementsprechend handeln und den Einbruch ins Gebäude gewährleisten.
Während eine der beiden Sturmgruppen in Deckung wartet, beseitigt die andere eine Drahtsperre vor dem Gebäude.
Hier eifern alle, ich zähle für Deckungsfeuer, Hammer in 3, 2, 1, Hammer, Hammer. Dann wird dann in der Regel differenziert zwischen Hammer und Sichel. Ja, Hammer, einmal ein Deckungsfeuer, vollumfänglich auf das Gebäude, auf die Einbruchsstelle. Und sobald dann die Sturmgruppen in Gebäudenähe arbeiten, wird dann das Sichel abgerufen, wo dann das Deckungsfeuer in die Tiefe verlegt.
Nun zünden die Sturmgruppen Nebelgranaten. Für den Feind nicht sichtbar, stürmen sie dann das Gebäude. Ganz besonders wichtig ist hierbei die Koordination zwischen Feuer und Bewegung.
Hammer steht, ja, komm!
Mit ihren Waffen verschießen die Soldaten Manövermunition. So werden Schüsse realitätsnah simuliert.
Stell das Gangbar, wir gehen direkt rein!
Alpha 3, alle drin. Wir haben Erdgeschoss genommen. Stelle Antrag. Nehmen nächstes Stockwerk. Benötige dazu nächsten Trupp. Kommen.
Die Infanteristen kämpfen in der Regel in Trupps oder Gruppen aus 4 bis 12 Soldaten. Neben ihrer gleichen Basisausbildung verfügen sie über verschiedene Spezialisierungen. Waffen- und Zugangstechnik, Funk- und Sanitätswesen. Nachdem das untere Stockwerk freigekämpft ist, rückt jetzt ein Maschinengewehrtrupp nach und bezieht im Haus Stellung, um von hier aus gegen feindliche Truppen zu agieren.
Ich brauche jetzt Ast. 3, 2, 1, Hammer. Sicher!
Zum Einsatz kommt hier das universell einsetzbare mittlere Maschinengewehr MG5. Die vollautomatische Waffe ermöglicht kurze und längere Feuerstöße. Eingesetzt wird das MG5 abgesessen mit einem Zweibein oder als Unterstützungswaffe auf einer Lafette. Das MG5 wiegt knapp 12 Kilogramm. Verschossen wird das NATO-Kaliber 7,62 x 51. Die Waffe hat eine Reichweite von bis zu 1000 Metern. Bis zu 800 Schuss sind pro Minute möglich.
Das MG5 ist ein Gasdrucklader und die Kadenz ist frei einstellbar über die Gasabnahme. Und zwar kann ich mit 640, 720.
细节，你呢？先让他们说呀！我自己不说还 Q 别人，你真的哎，我们都看不下去。姐，我说的啥？你说我说啥？我说的这都没啥意义。
所以生活中有什么让你们觉得很重要的仪式感吗？
就这个晚安这个事儿吧，我跟我爱人就是一直都会有说，就是收工无论到几点，我收工的时候也会跟他说，我说那个我收工了。不知道你睡没睡？你要睡了你就回我，没回的话，明天
你要睡了就回我，睡了就你给我起来！
不是，你要没睡的话就那个回我，你要是睡了的话就明天早上醒了。我开工的时候我每天都会打电话，收工的时候告诉他收工了。对。
楠姐给我们贡献一下。
你真的一到这种环节就非常的振奋。我们没有什么特别的仪式感，我觉得是我后来被传染的那个金哥一个习惯。开车开着，然后突然仪表盘上的那个数字、那个里程不是会蹦吗？有的时候一蹦后3位可能就比如说是我的生日，或者是他的生日，啊，或者是对我们很重要的纪念日，他就会突然间哎。我一开始完全不明白，啥呢？这是有什么好的？然后说，对他其实说，看那个仪表盘上的那个数字，就是一个特别的日子。
哇，这很浪漫。
对，所以后来我就被他传染了，就我现在看很多数字突然蹦出来，如果说是对我有意义的，我就会突然间关注一下。就是这种
细节。你呢？先让他们说呀！你说一个，自己不说还 Q 别人，
你真的我们都看不下去。
姐，我说的啥？你说我说啥？我说的这都没啥意义。
薛老师，您自己有属于您的仪式感吗？
我就没有什么仪式感，我唯一想到的就是，我们在家里2个人其实就有时候擦肩而过啊，做什么
擦肩而过，
也
偶遇一下在家里，
偶遇一下也很自然。但他呢，在家里的他办公的地方跟我离得挺远的，所以晚上大家个人做自己的事情，时不时我会走过去抱一抱他，然后
时不时什么频率呢？
就
什么时间点呢？
也不一定，就抱一抱，
抱多久？
一个晚上两三分钟，2、3分钟，
抱一下2、3分钟啊？
对，抱一抱，然后说话，然后我就回去做事了。
这2、3分钟就一直在这抱着。
对，然后说话，还要说话。
好浪漫呀你！
是吧？对。但是后来我换了一个牌子的电脑以后呢，就没去抱他了。
为什么？
因为我那个新的牌子电脑不需要重启动了。
因为电脑去抱他，
因为那个重启需要2、3分钟的，对，那个时间没事儿干。薛老师，你好可怕，你吓着我了，你吓着宝宝了，真的。
然后我太太她也知道，我太太也知道，她说啊，怎么又重启动了？抱一抱。
但是我觉得这个好可爱啊，就诡异的可爱。
是不是你老婆故意说不想抱了，给你换个电脑？不用过来这2-3分钟，换电脑，
你回去吧。
换个电脑。
哎呦我的妈呀，难以想象啊！我觉得难以想象。
所以没什么仪式感，就是说他也能理解，这也无所谓。
And some vague jab at infrastructure.
Well, Amy, we don't know if it's uptown or downtown Donald Trump that we're going to see tonight, but from an American's perspective, and you've been looking at a lot of polls, thinking about what the voters are thinking right now, what do you think they're looking for tonight?
Well, the president can come in with a laundry list, as David said, of things that they've actually gotten done. He has a good economy behind him. A lot of the things he talked about in his first, it wasn't the State of the Union, but addressed to Congress, he's been able to accomplish, whether it's on immigration crossing the border, right? The lowest number of border crossing arrests that we've had in years, regulations being cut. And yet he also comes in as the most unpopular president at this point in a first term. And he making that connection between how he can be successful on the one hand and still be seen so negatively by a majority of Americans, it's really all about him. It's the personality, it's not the policies. That is driving perceptions of him, and it's likely to drive the 2018 election as well.
Matt Schlapp, does the president carry a special burden with him tonight, more than most presidents would?
I really don't think so. I think if the president was going to govern like most politicians, try to find a way to use language at these big events where you know, they kind of soften their image, look for that soft, reassuring language. He just doesn't do that. I think David's right. I think he's going to sound presidential. It's going to be a presidential speech. But look, he is who he is. He's governing the way he's comfortable with governing. He believes at the end of the day, it's the results that will indicate whether or not he's a successful politician. Is the economy growing? Did we defeat ISIS? Do people feel greater security? That's kind of where he's putting his trust in the American people, that they'll like the results.
Marie Jean-Pierre, what about that? I mean, he very well probably is counting to a large degree on people looking at results.
Right, that's exactly right. Look, I have to tell you, I hate the word presidential now. I just can't stand it, because I think that it doesn't matter. This night actually, to me, doesn't matter at all, because he's going to probably stay on the teleprompter, but we know who Trump really is once he's off the teleprompter. It doesn't, maybe the presidential kind of sense of Trump will stay for more than an hour, maybe more than a day, but we know exactly who he is.
Here is the president. They are announcing him now. And this is the tradition, this is the ritual, Marshall, this is the way it's been done for president after president.
Since Harry Truman, 1947, when it went on television for the first time, and members realized that they could also appear next to the president in living rooms all over America.
And David, he makes his way down the aisle. Again, we've seen this scene so many times before. It's usually the members of the president's own party who get the closest. It's interesting to see if any Democrats are going to be reaching out to shake his hand.
If I were a good reporter, I would have been there at 5 p.m., which was when they used to start hoarding around the aisle seats to get into the shot. He's still a good bonus for a lot of people in a lot of seats. So they probably had a little of that, probably a little less than past presidents.
Amy, we're watching. Mark.
I just wanted to disagree with David early in the evening, and that is, it makes no difference what the president proposes. The only time it's made a difference what the president proposed was 1965, when Lyndon Johnson proposed Medicare, Medicaid, voting rights, and really changed America and federal aid to education. That he had 290 Democrats in the House and 68 in the Senate. Donald Trump doesn't have a governing legislative majority, a coalition at this point. So he could propose joining the League of Nations, blowing up the League of Nations.
Mark is completely wrong about that.
Yeah, I'd like to tape that answer and keep playing it back when people say, why isn't he getting everything through the Senate? Because you're right.
Well, no, it matters tremendously to within the administration. because the State of the Union is the marching orders for people within the administration. It's a great organizing document.
Right.
It's a great document to get listed in.
And while we discuss what he is or isn't going to get done, the president is making his way down the center aisle in the House of Representatives. We are catching a glimpse now and then of the First Lady Melania Trump up in the balcony area with a number of guests who are the guests of the president and the First Lady tonight. We're going to be hearing about them in a minute, but right now the president is shaking hands. We see the House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, and now we're beginning to see the Pentagon, officials from the Pentagon, members of the president's cabinet. The president seems to be moving briskly at this point.
Yeah, he really does look like
to
he's
get
moving
to
pretty
be
fast.
able to get this done.
To get it done, make the speech, stay on teleprompter.
Amy, we just here we go. Let's listen to this just a second.
Welcome.
Shaking hands with, of course, his own vice president and with House Speaker Paul Ryan, and he is getting right to it. I think it took him just a couple of minutes to get to the lectern, and he's about to speak. The President of the United States. This is where he gives each of them a copy of the speech.
Not everybody is standing.
No. And let it be known that Matt Schlapp was the one who said that. We always look to see whether members of the other party stand, applaud, and so forth. And right now, and we'll be talking about this later in the evening, different people tonight wearing different colors, symbolic of different issues and making different points.
And you have boycotts, too. Democrats who have boycotted.
That's right. I think there are 13 Democrats that we know of who have said they are not going tonight. I think 8 of them are members of the Congressional Black Caucus.
That's right.
But there are a handful of others as well. But right now, the applause sustains, and that is typical for most presidents. Most members of Congress, most states of State of the Union addresses accord the president the respect that the office deserves.
I mean, that's why Joe Wilson was such an aberration.
Yeah, you lie. Yeah.
Said you lied to the president. And the Sergeant at Arms has the authority to evict any member who's obstreperous or makes outbursts. So.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and the distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
And here comes another opportunity for members of Congress, especially those who are friendly to the president, to applaud.
The room is a lot smaller than it looks on TV, and so the atmosphere is a lot more intense.
Can I just point out that how Melania's wearing white, and because a lot of the Me Too women are wearing black. So
They're wearing black.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's any correlation, connection, but I thought it's really interesting that she's wearing white.
I'm actually noticing that the president and the speaker are wearing blue ties.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, the First Lady of the United States, and my fellow Americans. Less than 1 year has passed since I first stood at this podium in this majestic chamber to speak on behalf of the American people and to address their concerns, their hopes, and their dreams. That night, our new administration had already taken very swift action. A new tide of optimism was already sweeping across our land. Each day since, we have gone forward with a clear vision and a righteous mission to make America great again for all Americans. Over the last year, we have made incredible progress and achieved extraordinary success. We have faced challenges we expected and others we could never have imagined. We have shared in the heights of victory and the pains of hardship. We have endured floods and fires and storms. But through it all, we have seen the beauty of America's soul and the steel in America's spine. Each test has forged new American heroes to remind us who we are and show us what we can be. We saw the volunteers of the Cajun Navy racing to the rescue with their fishing boats to save people in the aftermath of a totally devastating hurricane. We saw strangers shielding strangers from a hail of gunfire on the Las Vegas Strip. We heard tales of Americans like Coast Guard Petty Officer Ashley Leopard, who is here tonight in the gallery with Melania. Ashley was aboard one of the first helicopters on the scene in Houston during the Hurricane Harvey. Through 18 hours of wind and rain, Ashley braved live power lines and deep water to help save more than 40 lives. Ashley, we all thank you. Thank you very much. We heard about Americans like firefighter David Dahlberg. He's here with us also. David faced down walls of flame to rescue almost 60 children trapped at a California summer camp threatened by those devastating wildfires. To everyone still recovering in Texas, Florida, Louisiana, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands, everywhere, we are with you. We love you, and we always will pull through together, always. Thank you to David and the brave people of California. Thank you very much, David. Great job. Some trials over the past year touched this chamber very personally. With us tonight is one of the toughest people ever to serve in this House. A guy who took a bullet, almost died, and was back to work 3.5 months later. The legend from Louisiana, Congressman Steve Scalise. I think they like you, Steve. We're incredibly grateful for the heroic efforts of the Capitol Police officers, the Alexandria Police, and the doctors, nurses, and paramedics who saved his life and the lives of many others, some in this room. In the aftermath, yes. In the aftermath of that terrible shooting, we came together, not as Republicans or Democrats, but as representatives of the people. But it is not enough to come together only in times of tragedy. Tonight, I call upon all of us to set aside our differences, to seek out common ground, and to summon the unity we need to deliver for the people. This is really the key. These are the people we were elected to serve. Over the last year, the world has seen what we always knew, that no people on earth are so fearless or daring or determined as Americans. If there is a mountain, we climb it. If there's a frontier, we cross it. If there's a challenge, we tame it. If there's an opportunity, we seize it. So let's begin tonight by recognizing that the state of our union is strong because our people are strong. And together we are building a safe, strong, and proud America. Since the election, we have created 2.4 million new jobs, including including 200,000 new jobs in manufacturing alone. Tremendous numbers. After years and years of wage stagnation, we are finally seeing rising wages. Unemployment claims have hit a 45-year low. And something I'm very proud of, African American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever recorded. And Hispanic American unemployment has also reached the lowest levels in history. Small business confidence is at an all-time high. The stock market has smashed one record after another, gaining $8 trillion and more in value in just this short period of time. The great news for Americans, 401k, retirement pension, and college savings accounts have gone through the roof. And just as I promised the American people from this podium 11 months ago, we enacted the biggest tax cuts and reforms in American history. Our massive tax cuts provide tremendous relief for the middle class and small business. To lower tax rates for hardworking Americans, we nearly doubled the standard deduction for everyone. Now, the first $24,000 earned by a married couple is completely tax-free. We also doubled the child tax credit. A typical family of four making $75,000 will see their tax bill reduced by $2,000 slash.
I remember one picnic at Balmoral which was taking place in one of the bothes on the estate. The hampers came from the castle and we all mucked in to put the food and drink out on the table. I picked up some cheese, put it on a plate and was transferring it to the table. The cheese fell on the floor. I had a split-second decision to make. I picked up the cheese, put it on the plate and put it on the table. And I turned round to see that my every move had been watched very carefully by Her Majesty the Queen. I looked at her, she looked at me, and she just smiled. And the cheese remained on the table.
Royalty is a mixture of myth and reality. It's the fairy tale romance of a princess coming together with living history. And when it comes in the shape of a queen, my goodness, you've got the full package there. This is a dream, and yet it's true. When Princess Elizabeth was a little girl, she didn't expect to be queen one day. She was just a little princess. Special, yes, leading a rarefied life, an unusual life. But her father was the Duke of York, and her mother was the Duchess of York, and they lived in London, in Piccadilly, quite almost a normal, if very grand, life.
She was like Princess Beatrice or Eugenie nowadays. I mean, she was the daughter of the Duchess of York and the Duke of York, lesser members of the royal family. So she grew up with a great reverence for the crown, understanding the importance of duty and the monarchy, but never got that sort of conceit or big-headedness that sometimes goes with actually being in the job. And I believe this gave her a modesty that people respect.
In those days, members of the royal family didn't have to do nearly as much as they have to do now. So the Duke and Duchess of York and their two children, Princess Elizabeth born 1926 and Princess Margaret in 1930, could pretty much disappear to Scotland from somewhere round about the middle of July till perhaps the middle of October, and hardly would be seen at all.
Well, Princess Elizabeth was very close to her father, and they were a very tight family unit. He used to call them the four of us. And although they obviously had tours and duties to do, they were quite a sort of stay-at-home family.
So incredibly spoiled in many ways, beyond anything that any of us can comprehend, and yet completely deprived of any kind of normalcy, really. therefore desperately trying to make normalcy within the little tiny world that she can make normalcy within.
The princesses were very much isolated from other children. Hence they interacted with each other, and they paradoxically would have developed an intense interest in everything ordinary. What is it like to ride on the tube? They would look at other children playing at a distance and wish that they could talk with them and make friends with them.
She wanted to join the Brownies, the Girl Guides. Yes, that was considered a good idea, so they formed a Girl Guide troupe inside Buckingham Palace. And a handful of nice, respectable girls formed the Girl Guide troupe. So she was a Girl Guide, she was a Brownie, but in the safety of a palace.
Princess Margaret Rose has feet which at the age of 7 cannot keep still. However, that's what you'd expect of a Brownie of the Leprechaun 6 of the Buckingham Palace pack.
Well, I mean, they were deliciously carefree children. They led as totally normal a life as it was possible under the circumstances. And we were wonderfully unsophisticated. I mean, we enjoyed very silly outdoor games that could keep us happy all day.
I've talked with one of Princess Elizabeth's playmates who knew her when she was a very little girl, and she said she was great fun to play with, but quite undaring. She didn't ever do anything dangerous. Right from the beginning, she was a well-brought-up, well-behaved, well-ordered little girl. She didn't go to school or university in the traditional way. She was brought up as young aristocratic women of her generation would be. First of all, she was educated